Ultra Magnus is dead.
No.
There is no passion, there is no vision, there is no aggression, there is no fucking mindset in this football club.
For those who might not be up to scratch with your Transformers lore because you actually have a social life, the phrase War for Cybertron is a phrase you need to give heavy reverence to. In the franchise, the War for Cybertron is the most important aspect, with this being what causes the rise of the Autobots and Decepticons, the planet-destroying civil war, and the eventual decision to spread out into the stars, which will eventually take them to Earth. If you're going to focus on the war itself, presenting it in all of its depressing and brutal glory, you better make sure that it's done correctly. One of the first steps that should be done to ensure this is an actual outcome is not give your material to Netflix to adapt, because their War for Cybertron series is one of the most hilarious pieces of shit I've seen come out of the Transformers franchise. Full of stale voice acting, lackluster fight scenes, a story that feels slow and lacking detail despite only having 6 episodes per season, over-the-top angst, which is pretty impressive that they managed to make soldiers in a war zone seem over-the-top in their depression, and just wasted potential. Alright, that might seem a bit unfair to put all the blame on Netflix, but there's a lot of decisions when it comes to the production of these shows that just don't make a lot of sense. Now, a long time ago, when the Machinima company was still top dog on YouTube, they also produced a trilogy of Transformers shows, and guess what problems these shows had? If your answer is stale voice acting, bad fight scenes, a story that's somehow slow and rushed at the same time, angsty characters and just wasted potential, then feel free to give yourself a well-deserved pat on the back when you give yourself your 90 goodnight wank. Naturally, Machinima went bankrupt and these shows were acquired by Rooster Teeth. Netflix and Hasbro then went to Rooster Teeth and asked them to make a trilogy of Transformers TV shows to stream on their site. And Rooster Teeth did that. Kinda. See, if you look at the posters and news articles, it says that Rooster Teeth were in charge of producing these shows. But from what I understand, they didn't actually really do a lot of the legwork, except to promote it and hire other companies to do all the actual work. For instance, instead of actually producing and taking charge of the trilogy's creation, they just hired the showrunner and creative team from the Machinima trilogy and told them to showrun these ones as well. Instead of vetting and hiring voice actors through their company, they hired another studio, Horseless Cowboy, to do it for them, with only one person from the Rooster Teeth staff doing any voice acting. And despite having a wide range of animated shows and teams to work with them, the animation was instead handed down to Polygon Pictures, the animation team behind Transformers Prime. In short, you know that meme of employees hiring guys in China to do their work for them and then pretending it's their work? That's what these shows are. Rooster Teeth still technically produced them, they just did so by telling everyone else to work together and do things by themselves, and then they just gave the finished product to Netflix. Speaking of the finished product, let's have a look at the first chapter, Siege. I always love this little opening scene purely because it sets this hilariously disjointed tone for the series. It opens up with this massive full-scale war going on, jets flying everywhere, the sky lit up by constant gunfire, explosions going off every second, and then everything just stops so Wheeljack can trip over a rock and nearly get spotted because him stumbling attracted Decepticons.
I don't make noise, and I don't draw attention to myself.
I mean, yeah, that's Wheeljack's bad, Bumblebee. He should have known the entire fucking war would put their volume on silent mode right before accidentally tripping over some debris. You know, from that war that you're in the middle of. So, Bumblebee is hired to lead Wheeljack to some Energon, which he does. And in the process comes across a space bridge, a device that can teleport people to different parts of the galaxy. Naturally, despite the fact he's by himself and severely underpowered to hold off any Decepticons that might find him, Wheeljack activates the bridge. And after like 15 seconds, a whole squad of Decepticons just appears from behind him from nowhere. Actually, it's worse than that, because here Bumblebee looks at where they're going to be standing and he has no reaction to them, meaning that in less than 5 seconds these fuckers just appear from nowhere.
Hello, motherfucker.
These people are the Seekers, led by Jetfire. I hope something about his design doesn't give away a plot twist that happens later. He's obviously joining the Autobots. Starscream says they should just eliminate the two of them because, you know, they're not Decepticons. And for some reason, instead of just ordering him not to, Jetfire cuts his arm off and Starscream gets the other Seekers to attack him, allowing Wheeljack and Bumblebee to run away, right into Megatron. Look at his lips! His hilarious face aside, I do like this little intro for Megatron, refusing to allow Starscream to just genocide anyone he wants, expecting his men to try and talk them into joining the Decepticons, but also refusing to let these two just do whatever they want, wanting them executed when they refuse.
That's pretty good.
So he orders them executed, and instead of just executing them immediately, they all just sit around for 10 seconds so Optimus can show up and save the day. And by save the day, I mean hit one dude and then just stand next to the other two so the Decepticons have all of them in their guns' line of sight.
Let them go!
The two have a big exposition dump on each other, made all the more hilarious by the fact that Megatron's voice actor sounds like he has all the passion of a minimum wage worker that's 2 days away from losing his job, while Optimus tries to sound cool and badass but instead comes across as a secondary school kid who thinks he's tough but is one punch away from figuring out he isn't, as we see in this fight scene. I don't know what's more pathetic, Optimus or the fight choreography. Just before he executes Optimus, Alita manages to shoot the sword and kill one of the Seekers with her first 2 shots, only to miss every single other bullet that she fires. This escape scene is also really hilarious because you'd think they'd try and get away as fast as possible, but instead of transforming, they just awkwardly waddle away instead.
Think I've shit myself.
Alita meets them and scolds Optimus.
The explosives. The idea is to be as far as possible when you blow everything up.
Bitch, did you just see how far away he was? Bro was all the way down the end of the street and you're acting like he fucking kamikazed into them. They all get into a fight with Bumblebee. Bro is just trying to do his job and he keeps getting guilt tripped in every direction. They arrive back at base, a ship called the Ark, where Ultra Magnus tells Prime they're losing the war and should accept the treaty, with it being their only chance of survival. Optimus tries to recruit Bumblebee, but it doesn't work. And as Bumblebee tries to leave, this happens.
Maybe I should.
We are not the Decepticons!
Jesus man, this voice acting is just so unhinged. Megatron gives his speech to the Decepticons and somehow continues to give his speech even after he stops talking, if these monitors are to be believed. As he talks to Starscream and Jetfire, a mysterious hooded figure shows up. What a clever disguise, I wonder who it is. Unironically, they ended this episode with this cliffhanger. Like, come the fuck on, this is not how you do suspense. Megatron continues talking to the Seekers when this mysterious stranger arrives. And just look at the fucking camera angles and character placements. Megatron's chair is so far from the edge he can't actually see anything over it. Yet somehow he manages to see the stranger despite the fact you can't see Megatron from the stranger's perspective. And then all of the Seekers ready their weapons and point them directly in front of themselves. What are they trying to threaten? The fucking wall?
You idiots!
On top of this, it looks like they're in a completely different arena now. The throne is on the ground floor, which is fine because the platform might have been elevated, so they could have just gone down. But now the arena is much smaller and these staired platforms just weren't here last episode. We get this highly intensive moment. Wow, just such energy. The mysterious stranger reveals himself as Ultra Magnus. Oh my god, I didn't see this coming. And then he surrenders himself. After dumping more exposition on each other, Megatron asks Magnus to tell the other Autobots to surrender and join him. And Magnus, who in the previous episode said Optimus should command his soldiers and tell them to surrender, tells Megatron he's not going to command his soldiers and tell them to surrender.
What the fuck?
Magnus, buddy, Megatron is asking you to do the exact same thing you asked Optimus to do about 10 minutes ago. Stop being a fucking idiot. On the Ark, Optimus gives a big, impassioned speech to 6 Autobots, telling them that Magnus has surrendered and that Alita is now their second in command. It's just really funny because you've got this giant room and there's just this small rally going off on the side of it. Shockwave tells Megatron he is searching for the Allspark, which he could manipulate to deactivate the Autobots and turn them into loyal Decepticons, with Jetfire being against this, viewing it as dishonourable, and at the same time Magnus sends a warning message about what Megatron is up to. It's a mostly fine scene, but I don't understand why Magnus can do this. He's in a prison cell. Surely they would have blocked signals going in and out, right? Also, I know they can't really help it because that's just how he's designed, but I think it's just really funny how Shockwave keeps hitting his iPad with his gun. Optimus receives the message from Magnus and tells Alita,
We must find it first. Gather everyone.
And again, it's just like 6 people. It's really funny. Wheeljack says he can use some energon to get the long-range scanners going to try and locate it, which is strange considering that the whole point of them hiring Bumblebee was the fact they didn't really have any, so not sure where this energon just comes from. Soundwave tells Megatron about Magnus's message, and Optimus and Alita have a heart-to-heart because they're banging or something. Megatron forges a message and sends it to lure the Autobots into a trap, telling Magnus about what is going to happen to them. Megatron checks on the ambush teams, which he does by having invisible cameras that just so happen to give him the exact same camera angles the audience gets when watching the show, because there's no way that such a highly produced show would reuse footage, would they? The Autobots fall for the ambush and we get some slow fights, with this one in particular being very funny. Like, he threw the rope in a straight line and it somehow wraps around Impactor. One of these Seekers crashes into a building and this causes 9/11 on the Decepticons, crushing their forces and allowing the Autobots to escape.
Decepticons.
Deserve 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying it.
So both the Autobots and Decepticons go back to base, with Megatron demanding to know where the important energon they used as bait has gone, with it being discovered that Bumblebee took it during the fighting. Somehow. Don't know how he just walked into a battlefield and took it considering it's surrounded by Decepticons. I also don't know how Shockwave says,
"It disappeared from sensors during the battle."
and then just says with 100% certainty that the Autobots don't have it. Either you know where it is and it's not with the Autobots, or you don't know where it is and you can't rule out the Autobots. Decepticon genius my ass. We open up on the next episode with Ratchet looking for injured people, while Megatron is giving his eulogy about Impactor. Ratchet then jumps down, picking up one of the walls and immediately finds Impactor. Wait, then where were you guys searching, you fucking colons?
Absolutely useless.
Optimus decides that if they can find the Allspark, they can remove it off-world so Megatron can't get it.
Remove the Allspark, and Cybertron dies.
We will not let that happen.
Ignoring the fact that you guys can barely kill any Decepticons, never mind stop a planet from dying, why don't you just keep it? It's an energy source, right? Just hide it somewhere and keep using it until the Decepticons run out of energon. Starscream starts talking mad shit about Megatron, only to be told to shut up, with Jetfire becoming worried over Megatron's more callous feelings towards his soldiers. When Alita tells Optimus that they would be shot out the sky trying to leave Cybertron, Wheeljack tells them about the space bridge he found.
How in the name of Primus do we get it off Cybertron?
Shut up, bitch!
Meanwhile, after aura farming, Megatron gives Shockwave freedom to use whatever methods he wants to find the location of the Autobots from Magnus. Mirage, disguised as a Decepticon, approaches a group of Decepticons and begins talking to them, only for his disguise to fail and a big fight to spring up. What was the point of this? The Autobots are already set up in position here, they could have just killed them immediately, but instead they send Mirage in, meaning now they have to worry about friendly fire and drag the fight out longer. No wonder the Autobots are losing when this is the plans they're cooking up.
You morons!
The group find Ratchet, and after another exposition dump, they come across Ratchet's clinic, which heals both Autobots and Decepticons. After everyone decides to just pull out their weapons and threaten each other, Ratchet decides to listen to what Optimus has to say, agreeing to help fix the space bridge. After torturing him, Magnus manages to escape and holds Megatron at gunpoint, but refuses to shoot him because he's turned around, leading to him getting captured again. Bro is literally such a fucking hypocritical idiot. Impactor decides that he will stick with Ratchet while he fixes the space bridge, and after some complaints from the Autobots, Prime decides to allow him to join them. Skywarp and Jetfire manage to track them down, but when Skywarp makes his intentions of not letting them surrender clear, Jetfire shoots him. Despite not wanting Skywarp to report back to Megatron, Jetfire then proceeds to not shoot him a second time, and he also doesn't bother trying to track him down, letting him fly back to Starscream and report what happened.
You just stand there like an idiot in front of an enemy. You might as well kill yourself now.
Skywarp then dies because he got shot once in the fucking wing.
You weak, pathetic fool.
Megatron is led by Magnus to the supposed Autobot base, only for Megatron to discover he's been led into a false location and he threatens to kill Magnus. Magnus is like, no, and then dies with this goofy ass smile on his face. Anyway, some weird energy leaves his body and it ends up going inside Bumblebee, with this energy alerting Optimus that Magnus is dead. Starscream rolls up and shoots Jetfire, with Jetfire revealing he killed Skywarp, and we get this fucking scene.
Finish him.
Look how awkward this animation looks, with his crooked ass elbow trying to aura farm. We then get an aerial fight scene, and I need you to pay attention to how much this doesn't make sense. So Jetfire does a loop-de-loop to get on top of one of the Seekers. None of the Seekers try to maneuver around him, they just keep flying in a straight line when he gets into position. Then, when he kills this one, we see all the other Seekers were behind him this entire time and just watched as one of their comrades got shanked to death. Then, despite there being 4 of them, Starscream is the only one that bothers to shoot at him, with the other 3 just chilling in the background. After Starscream causes Jetfire to 9/11 into a city, we get a scene I actually quite liked, where Ratchet commends Red Alert on his determination to help the wounded Autobots, and Optimus tells the teams to get ready to prepare the Ark and repair the space bridge. Wait, how is the Ark going to get ready? I thought the whole point of the opening episodes was to establish there's no Energon to fly it. If you had so much Energon that you can fly this ship, why the fuck did you need to scavenge for Energon so badly? Optimus goes to see a group called the Guardians, who are supposed to, well, guard Cybertron. Despite being told that Megatron intends to turn all life on the planet into Decepticons, they're just like,
it's not my problem.
At the space bridge, the Seekers arrive, and despite Chromia having the ability to fucking do this, she decides to wait until they all start shooting everyone to do so.
You're a fucking idiot!
Starscream then gets made the leader of the Seekers.
Most inferior.
Bazinga! On the Ark, Bumblebee arrives, demanding to know who Alpha Trion is. But, like, I thought everyone knew. At the start of the episode, we literally see this big-ass memorial. His death and his teachings being used by Optimus and Megatron is the exact reason why the war started. I get they're trying to set up that Bumblebee has the energy in him, the Alpha Trion protocols, but this is fucking retarded. Imagine some allied soldier in World War II bursting in and demanding to know who Winston Churchill is. Or iDubbbz is streaming online and he asks what a cook chair is. You shouldn't need to ask questions when you already know what the answer is. Inside his head, Bumblebee talks to the Alpha Trion protocols, who explains that his protocols are designed to pass on the history and wisdom to the user to better Cybertron. Bumblebee agrees to stick with Optimus, right as Jetfire arrives, who states he wishes to join the Autobots. On to the next episode, Soundwave and Shockwave inform Megatron of the Alpha Trion protocols, and that because it uses Autobot codes, it was able to transmit itself across the planet using any device linked to the Autobots, with Shockwave capable of creating a virus from Magnus's body to destroy all the Autobot devices the code has touched. Again, it's an okay scene, it's just really funny that they're trying to have this serious conversation in the middle of their command room, and Magnus's corpse is just strung up like a scarecrow. Don't you fuckers have like a morgue or a science lab you could take this into? Jetfire tells the Autobots about what happened to Magnus and what Megatron's plans are, and Bumblebee finds the Allspark is in the Sea of Rust. Ratchet activates the space bridge, but this causes this to happen.
Once the space bridge is activated, it's going to draw the attention of every Seeker in the sector.
It draws 3. That's it. That's every Seeker in the sector. 3. This giant ass machine activates and it attracts 3 Decepticons.
What is that actually happened? Of course.
Chromia could have just shot them down again and it wouldn't be an issue. But no, instead the show does something even stupider and has Mirage camouflage the entire building. The guy who couldn't camouflage himself an episode ago can now camouflage an entire building with ease. Jetfire offers to help the Autobots navigate the Sea of Rust, offering to have a suicide squad pulled on him and letting them put a bomb in his head, meaning he'd never be able to do anything without the consent of the Autobots, and that if he tries they can kill him immediately. Optimus, freedom is the right of all sentient beings Prime, immediately agrees to put a compliance bomb in Jetfire's head.
You suck!
He will lead a team into the Sea of Rust, while Bumblebee will lead a team to steal Energon from someone named Sound Blaster, a mercenary crime lord. Jetfire navigates the Autobots through the Sea of Rust, and by navigate I mean drives in a straight line, and Ironhide informs Alita that the Autobot bases around the planet have checked in to tell them their systems are down due to Shockwave's virus. So the bases and their systems have gone down, but they can still communicate and send messages?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Alita prepares the Ark to get ready to leave. The team in the Sea of Rust encounter vortexes that for some reason only sweep up Prowl, allowing Jetfire to save him in a really boring and unexhilarating chase scene. Bumblebee tricks Sound Blaster into trading with him, and Mirage can't keep the camouflage up, meaning that huge giant army of 3 Seekers manages to find them.
Oh, scary! Oh, shiver my timbers!
Shockwave's virus damages the Ark, shutting down its power and cloaking systems, with Megatron preparing to lead the Decepticons to attack it. Bumblebee gets into Sound Blaster's energon deposit, but they're ambushed by him, as he has been spying on them. And despite the fact that RC and Cog were looking in that direction of the door, they don't spot him or the several guards that surround them. So I guess they just teleported in again. Also, you come all the way into this facility and all the energon you needed was this? Couldn't you just scavenge this amount? In the Sea of Rust, the team starts to head into the facility where the Allspark is being held, but come under attack by the undead Cybertronians, who start to overwhelm them because instead of just shooting or punching them or dodging out the way, they just stand there looking at them. The virus follows Bumblebee into Sound Blaster's facility, distracting the mercenaries and allowing them to make a run for it, although the virus shuts down Bumblebee. In the Sea of Rust, they fight against these zombies but are quickly overwhelmed. Oh my god, no! They killed Moonracer! The Autobot that didn't show up until halfway through last episode, had 2 lines of dialogue and then got quickly killed with no personality. She was my favourite. Also, you gotta love that she's supposed to have been graphically ripped apart, and then we see her corpse and there's just like nice clean slices without any torn metal or wires sticking out from her. Optimus gets the Allspark, which causes these zombies to disintegrate. Bumblebee's team gets back to the Ark, and both the Ark and the space bridge come under attack by Decepticons. Bumblebee wakes up and realises that the Alpha Trion protocols in his head have been destroyed, and Megatron realises that Optimus isn't returning to the Ark because he has the Allspark, and is going to take it to the space bridge. Starscream is told to keep destroying the space bridge, Soundwave will keep attacking the Ark, and he will go after Prime. He and Prime have a big exposition dump on each other, and then Jetfire distracts the Decepticons so Optimus can reach the space bridge. They get the Ark online again, with the AI defeating all the Decepticons, and then it takes off. Ratchet activates the space bridge, although Impactor is killed in the process of protecting him. As Optimus climbs it, Alita and her squad just appear out of nowhere to help stop the Decepticons. Like, they were on a ship, and now they're just here. And then Megatron teleports up the side of a building and just grabs Prime. Prime manages to throw the Allspark into the space bridge, making me question why he just didn't do that in the first place instead of climbing up this entire fucking building. Omega Supreme bursts out of the building and starts attacking the Decepticons, one-shotting all of them but somehow failing to hit Megatron twice.
You're a fucking idiot.
Also, how the fuck does this fucker appear? Before he was in some random valley, and now you're telling me he managed to Shawshank Redemption his way under this building and then burst out at this precise moment Optimus needs him to?
Okay.
Anyways, Alita refuses to leave the Ark, deciding to stay and fight on Cybertron, and Optimus gets the Ark through the space bridge, which explodes behind him. It then somehow immediately switches from nighttime to early morning, as Alita vows to keep fighting Megatron, and apparently an unknown vessel is approaching the Ark, wherever it currently is in space. And that is Siege, the first season of this TV show trilogy. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, that doesn't sound great, but surely it's not that bad. And to that I say, please remember I'm basically giving you a condensed version of the show. When I say something like the Autobots and Decepticons fight, what I mean is that the Autobots will stand around for about 10-15 seconds, grunting and freaking out, and then after constantly missing their shots, they'll finally manage to shoot the Decepticons that just stand there in the open right next to them. Rinse and repeat several times, sometimes even in the same fight scene. When I say the characters stand around giving exposition to each other, what I mean is these people spend several minutes talking to each other about stuff they already know and have no reason to be talking about. Most of the characters in this show have the most generic and boring personalities on the planet, and only Impactor and Jetfire really get any sort of character arc. Megatron also gets one, kinda, showing him becoming more and more brutal to try and win the war, but we also don't see him do a lot of merciful deeds except right at the start. So when everyone says he's falling from grace, there's not a lot that makes me support this statement because he's basically an asshole through every episode. They also use a lot of generic models for the Decepticons, especially the Seekers and this guy for some reason. Speaking of characters, the dialogue for this show isn't great. Besides the problem of everyone spouting exposition to each other, there's 2 more problems that make most of the dialogue painful to listen to. The first one is the voice acting itself. There's a lot of time during the more dramatic and tense moments when the characters are supposed to be angry or worried or just shouting, and the voice actors just couldn't do it. Optimus is a good example of this, as his voice actor clearly can only do his Optimus Prime voice when he has a calm, level tone. If Optimus is supposed to be angry or if he's shouting something, the voice just fails.
I won't let you enslave it!
The second problem is the voice directing. For some reason, the actors were told to read this dialogue very slowly and to keep putting in big pauses throughout, meaning that sometimes it can take over 5 seconds to say one very simple line of dialogue. I guess this was done to try and make it seem more melancholic and depressing, but instead it makes them come across as mentally subnormal who struggle with simple sentences. If you had these people speak their lines normally and remove the massive exposition dumps, you'd probably get the runtime down by like at least a third. The story and plot lines also don't really make a lot of sense. For instance, Magnus tells Optimus to tell the Autobots to stand down, leaving in a huff when Optimus refuses. And then when Megatron asks Magnus to tell the Autobots to stand down, Magnus refuses to do so either. So why the hell was he annoyed with Optimus when he also refuses to make the Autobots stand down? They make a big deal about how they don't have any energon and that they're desperate to get some, as they barely have enough to keep their cloaking up. And then like 2 episodes later, they're just using long-range scanners and just giving some to Bumblebee to bargain with. They make a big deal about how they need Jetfire because he's the only one who can navigate through the Sea of Rust, and then they just go in a straight line until they reach a cavern and that's it. Which also doesn't really make a lot of sense, because if the Seekers, and therefore the Decepticons, have already navigated the Sea of Rust, they would have found this cavern, which means they would have found the Allspark, which means this shouldn't be a plot point happening because they should already have it. The art style and setting is alright. I think some of the character models look a bit off. They tend to be very bulky in the most unnatural way, but for the most part they get the war-like setting down. The characters are covered in scratches and burn marks, there's rubble everywhere, dust and smoke fills the streets, and it does feel like you're in a war zone. The music is fine, but there's nothing memorable about it at all. I sat through the opening credits because they're not very long, they only last about 15 seconds, and despite doing so 6 times, I've still got no idea what it sounds like. Finally, the animation. The fight and chase scenes range from okay to just bad, and most of the other scenes, whether it be walking scenes or people stood around talking, are very simplistic. I will say this is most likely due to the budget and because of COVID. Polygon Pictures have been able to make some great Transformers animation in the past, very expressive and fluid, and some of the best fight scenes in the franchise. And based on details revealed afterwards, the budget either wasn't as big as it should have been, or things changed during the production that caused the budget to be lost. Most of the characters just run instead of transforming. They tend to just stand there when idle and the camera isn't focused on them. Sometimes the characters and events in the background just stop happening, and the fight scenes are either basic punching to the face, or people just stood there firing at each other until the side that's supposed to win wins. Overall, I think this was a pretty poor start to this trilogy. It goes out of its way to make sure that everything is explained and everyone's motivations are put down on the table. There's no ambiguity or mystery to help keep people invested and wondering what's going to happen next. It took forever to do their primary goal while not a lot of anything else happens in between. Most characters basically don't have any personality, and those that do just keep repeating the same goals and conflicts they have with those around them. The fight scenes won't leave you entertained, and they'll just teleport enemies in from nowhere to keep the conflicts happening. And I just do not have any connection to any of these characters, which, considering they've had 6 episodes to make that happen, is astoundingly bad. If you love badly made cringy stuff, then I guess you could give this a try, but other than that, there's probably not a lot here for you.
Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.